You guys, Erin here, back with another moon update for you. And we have finally got some earth energy coming through, some stability. Now, by no means am I suggesting that over these next few weeks that everybody's going to be walking around super grounded and stable, because so much of this depends on our own natal chart. But basically what we've got coming up here, we've got a new moon. This happens on Friday, December 23rd at 2:16 a.m. Pacific time at 1 degrees Capricorn. Now, this Capricorn energy, it's the cardinal earth sign. I'm going to break down this Capricornian energy in just a moment for you here. But basically, what I want to start out with saying is that this is providing us, this is a new moon. It's providing us with an opportunity for growth that is related to this sign of Capricorn, related to stability, related to structure, related to responsibilities. Okay, so this is a time to pull out our journals and write down what it is we want to manifest that's related to this sign of Capricorn. Again, I will go through all the little details of this Capricornian energy, but I also need to mention this. Of course, we all experience this new moon as a collective and as individuals, but of course, everybody experiences it uniquely. And so much of this depends on your own natal chart, okay? And the basics to start with here is finding out which house in your natal chart the sign of Capricorn rules. Now, if you're using a Placidus house system, then you need to see exactly where 1 degrees Capricorn is coming through. But if you're a beginner, I personally do recommend starting with at least just the whole sign house system. When I'm talking about the houses, I'm talking about when you're looking at your natal chart, you want to see which slice of pie the sign of Capricorn comes through. It could be coming through your house of career, your house of money, your house of relationships, your house of home, your house of karma, your house of transformation, your house of communication. There's all these different areas of your life that this Capricornian energy could be manifesting through. And that's why it's so beneficial. We can finely tune what it is we're trying to manifest and when to work with that kind of energy by getting familiar with our natal chart. Now, if you get a reading with me, you get the video recording, of course, only if you want it. I don't record unless you want me to, but I send you the recording and you can always go back and see where any of these new moons or full moons or anything astrological, where specifically in your life it's manifesting through. Now, you can also just do that yourself. If you want to be a student of this stuff, you can just go to any search engine and type in, calculate my natal chart, and you will be able to, for free, be able to look at your own natal chart. Now, okay, let's just get rolling with this. So this sign of Capricorn, it's the cardinal earth sign. When I say cardinal, what I mean is this energy has some good force, okay? It's got good ambition, but it is also an earth sign. So it's like a stable, grounded ambition. This is most commonly represented by the mountain goat, okay? The mountain goat that wants to make its way to the top of the mountain and be on top like a boss. The sign of Capricorn is very much associated with taking on authoritarian positions, okay? But this mountain goat also is very meticulous about where it's, going to put its foot down, but does it step by step by step by step. Sign of Capricorn does things slowly and sort of methodically and thinking things out, especially with Mercury going through Capricorn as well. But also the mountain goat that can butt its way through obstructions. When something's in its way, it will bust its way through. That's not suggesting that everybody who's at their sun and Capricorn is going to bust through obstructions and be the boss and that sort of thing. There's so much more to the natal chart, but this Capricorn energy in and of itself, this is what it's all about. It's ruled by Saturn. Okay, now Saturn is a very interesting character. Saturn is the one who brings responsibilities and discipline and hard lessons to learn from. But Saturn can also provide strength. In fact, Saturn kind of rules the minerals in our body, our bones. In fact, the sign of Capricorn is very much associated with the bones in our body. But this is an energy of structure, discipline, ambition, responsibilities, going after our goals. Again, it's very much associated with being the boss. I know so many of you are entrepreneuring your own thing. Write your goals down the night before this new moon to work with this energy, to build the structure and do things step by step by step. Okay, now also something else to mention here. The sign of Capricorn is also very much associated with fear and loss. Okay. Now we've got a lot going on through this sign of Capricorn. There may be a strong tendency for people to be like kind of living in fear. It's a really good idea to recognize that we're being influenced with that and to focus on the goals. Make sure you're focusing on your goals and going towards them and bust through the obstruction of fear. Fear is like a disease. It's terrible. It'll, block us from fulfilling anything that we really want to. So it's a good idea to just be mindful of that. Okay, now in this recording, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up the chart and I'm going to show you just the very basics of what's going on. Okay, I try not to make these videos too long. I'm going to show you what is in retrograde and where the celestial bodies are and go through the basics. But also what I'm going to do at the end of this, I'm going to talk about certain parts of the body that can very much be sort of afflicted or go through be sensitized at the time of this new moon, parts of the body that the sign of Capricorn rules, and some potential herbs that could help us kind of work with that, some potential remedies. And I'm also going to talk about gemstones that resonate well with this sign of Capricorn. Okay, so bear with me. Again, if you don't want to sit through the part where I'm sharing the chart and you just want to get to the parts of the body and the gemstones, then just scoot forward to the end of this recording. Okay, so for those of you who are new to my recordings, I work with geocentric Western astrology. With that said, we put Earth right here in the middle, and this is basically a snapshot of the tropical zodiac at the time of this new moon. Now, these guys right here, these are all the symbols for the celestial bodies, okay? Like here's Mars, here's Uranus, here's Jupiter, here's Neptune, here's Saturn, here's the moon, and here's the sun. This right here is the symbol for the sign of Capricorn, technically called a glyph. So that's what you'd want to look for in your own natal chart. Don't pay attention to the houses. When I'm talking about the houses, again, these are the slices of pie. Depending on this is based on my location. Okay. If you're over in the UK or something, that the sun and the moon could be up here, but they're still going to be at 1 degrees Capricorn. But in your own natal chart, where do you see the glyph for this sign of Capricorn? And what is the energy of that house that it's coming through? Okay. Now, all right. For everybody, we're all experiencing 1 degrees Capricorn. This is like pure Capricornian structured, ambition that's coming through here. 1 degrees, it's a very strong, sort of condensed energy of that sign of Capricorn. But we also see what we've got coming through here. This right here is Venus. This right here is Mercury. And this right here is Pluto. So let's start with Mercury. Mercury coming through the sign of Capricorn. Mercury is like the ruler of our mind. Mercury is such a busy character who's got to keep everything organized in our mind. And then when we want to communicate, Mercury's got to go in and find the file that information is placed on and pull it back out so we can communicate it. And personally, I really like Mercury in Capricorn. Maybe it's just for myself, but it seems that Mercury can be a little slowed down in the sign of Capricorn. I know a lot of us have very, very busy minds. My Mercury in Aries is always thinking about something, and Mercury in Capricorn can kind of slow it down. It's not like it's an exalted placement here or anything like that, but it's nice for bringing things to a little bit more of a practical level. Now, also, we've got Venus here. Now, Venus, she kind of struggles in the sign of Capricorn because Venus is the influencer of love and charm and romance and beauty and art. And she just wants everything to be romantic. Okay. And the sign of Capricorn says, you gotta be a little more practical than that. And of course, this is on a collective, we're receiving this, and it's going to be very unique to each and every one of us, but this could potentially create some sort of a slowdown in your romance or a blockage there or something you're attracted to, but it's try to be practical about it. Utilize this energy and try to be realistic about it. Okay. And then Pluto going through Capricorn. I've talked so much about this because Pluto's been here for, I think it's close to 20 years. I can't remember the exact number, but regardless, Pluto moves very, very slowly. And like I said, the sign of Capricorn really does rule over the structure of our civilization. Capricorn rules even authoritarian establishments like the government. Pluto creates destruction, okay? And Pluto, for a purpose, Pluto's trying to create a death and rebirth process. Okay. We're seeing a lot of that go on. We're seeing Capricorn also rules over traditions. Okay. I know a lot of people who are just completely changing the way that they celebrate these traditions. Some people aren't even celebrating it anymore. Pluto going through Capricorn has a lot to do with that. And what's really, really interesting here is Pluto is in 2023, Pluto is going to pop into the sign of Aquarius very briefly, but then retrograde back into Capricorn and then move forward again. Next year, next December, Pluto is just going to finish up completely through that sign of Capricorn. We're going to see a lot of very interesting things unfold because of this. Okay. Pluto also reveals secrets. You know, Capricorn, out of all the zodiac signs, for sure, Capricorn is the most associated with things like government. And we are seeing all kinds of secrets being revealed. And I do feel like there's going to be a lot going on regarding that. Okay, so hopefully I'm giving you the clear idea of the way that this Capricornian energy works and really what's going on here through that sign of Capricorn. We're receiving a lot of it in a lot of different types of ways. Okay, now, first I want to point out this right here is Jupiter, who just entered into Aries. Jupiter is finally done with Pisces and will not be back for, I think, another 12 years or so. 0 degrees Aries. Jupiter is hot, burning up here. Of course, there's pros and cons to everything in astrology. But really, I would say, first of all, Jupiter has a very big influence on our liver, and all of our livers might be kind of course, everybody's unique. Everybody's body is different, but all of our livers might be a little hot while Jupiter goes through Aries over the next 6 months, and especially at 0 degrees. But what's going on here, these red lines that we see going right here where my mouse is moving, those are squares, okay? Approximately 90-degree angle between the sun and the moon over here and Jupiter up here. Now, first of all, Jupiter is the great expander. He's the great benefic, but makes everything kind of a bigger deal. With that said, all these things that I've talked about that's going on with this new moon in Capricorn, there can be brought into like becoming a bigger deal. Jupiter's like wants to make it bigger. Can potentially bring in like some more charitable type energy. Jupiter has a tendency to bring charitable energies through. Again, so much of this depends on your own natal chart, but as a collective here, I'd say the benefits of this is that Jupiter can make, if we're setting our intentions for this new moon in Capricorn, Jupiter can make that like a grander deal. However, this can also, just at the time of really the days surrounding this new moon, there can be something that definitely feels like an internal blockage going on, even a blockage with, you want to make things a bigger deal. You're not feeling it right now, but that square will go away and things, again, Jupiter continues to do that work. Okay. Now let's see here. Let's talk about Mars going through Gemini. This guy's in retrograde. None of these guys going through Capricorn are in retrograde, by the way. So that is nice. But Mars up here, Mars is the influencer of direct, like sort of piercing dominance. Mars is a warrior. Mars is aggressive and just wants to penetrate, wants to go fiercely forward. And going through the sign of Gemini, Mars can't do that. Mars wants to kind of go this direction and this direction at the same time. It's a very, very excitable energy. People who have got Mars and Gemini in their natal chart can tend to just kind of be excited about so many different things. So it's lovely. But as far as this influence, it may be that could take away from us focusing on those goals and moving forward one step at a time. Mars is like, but there's this, oh, there's that over there, going through the sign of Gemini, especially in retrograde. It's like Mars is just not functioning the way that he wants to. Okay, so keep that in mind. Now, let's see here. I will briefly touch on some other placements here in case you're new to my recordings, and I apologize if you've seen my recordings and they're getting repetitive because some things take a little longer to move along. Okay, this right here is the South Node going through the sign of Scorpio. Now, the South Node, this is where celestial energy goes out. Okay, this is the exit point, the drain point for celestial energy, and it works really strong in the sign of Scorpio because Scorpio rules the parts of the body where things go out. Scorpio rules the colon. It rules the entire excretory system. Okay, and so Scorpio loves to flush out toxicity. Okay. The sign of Scorpio, like I said, it rules the excretory system. It wants to flush things out. Okay. Any sort of toxic energy that's going on in your life, whether it be food or drugs or alcohol or people, people you're hanging out with, toxic relationships, that sort of thing, flush it out. However, unfortunately, and this is going to be going on all the way until July of next year, by the way, the South Node going through Scorpio. Take that time, because that we won't get that transit for a whole nother 18 years. I personally am taking this opportunity to flush the toxicity out of my life. But I will say this, at the time of this new moon, it'll be hard to see that. And I get it. Like, this is 2 days before Christmas. A lot of people are going to be, jolly and drinking alcohol and putting, cakes and pies and all kinds of food that might not be the best for our bodies inside. But just try not to forget that this South Node is there, and try not to allow too much toxic stuff to go into the vessel. And I could see why it would be hard for people to remember this. These brown lines that are going from the South Node, or this connection up here is going to Chiron, which is mostly referred to as the wounded healer. And this is what we call inconjunct or quincunx. It's a 150-degree angle that makes it like a blind spot. They can't see each other. The South Node and Chiron can't see each other. And that's the same thing that's going on with Mars up here. Can't see the South Node, making it hard for people to remember or see, oh yeah, we could be flushing toxicity out of our life. But it's not getting recognized because of these aspects that are going on. But then between these two quincunx, we've got a sextile. We've got a combination of aspects here that is referred to as a yod. And this green line that goes from Chiron over to Mars can create opportunity. Basically, to put this all in a nutshell for you, if you are at least focusing on a little bit of flushing the toxicity out of your life, there's grand opportunities that can come from that involve healing and being a little bit more of a warrior, that type of thing. Okay. And again, keep in mind, again, I can't say this enough. We all experience this very uniquely to our own self. Okay. Now also briefly, I'll touch on these guys just very briefly, because I've talked so much about them. This right here is the North Node. This right here is Uranus. They're very close together. The North Node is where celestial energy comes in. Uranus is spasmodic and electrical and rules over technology, rules over revolutions. Okay. And we're getting a lot of that because it's so close to the North Node, where energy comes in, going through the sign of Taurus, which Taurus rules money. Okay. Banking systems, we've seen a lot going on there throughout the year. These guys have been kind of close to each other all the way since March. We've seen inflation, the whole thing that happened with the gas prices, all sorts of things. That's Taurus energy. Now this is also, it's like Taurus has a lot to do with agriculture. Okay. We've seen a lot going on there. Things genetically modified, all kinds of weird stuff going on with our crops. A lot of that has to do with what's going on here. And that does create a lot of instability. Okay. So like the combination of these guys and Mars retrograding through Gemini, it can make it very difficult for us to focus on being ambitious with our goals, which is really what we want to focus on with this new moon in Capricorn. So keep that in mind. Okay, now Neptune's still going through Pisces. I'm just going to leave as this is a very spiritual placement that's going on for a much, I think it's another 4 years, maybe even 5 years. Spiritual awakenings, okay? Again, I just am quickly going through this because I don't want to bore anybody. This right here is Saturn going through Aquarius. I kind of see this as the pros of this is I've seen all these, Aquarius is the humanitarianism, the sign of humanitarianism. And we're seeing people gathered together, like people for the people, gathered together and build a structured community to help one another. This is also, that's really the positive side that I'm seeing this come through. Again, there's so much more to this, but Saturn can also, Saturn's creating a little bit of a blockage in the revolution that we are all experiencing. Saturn's going to be done in Aquarius in March. A lot going on in March of 2023, by the way. So stay tuned for recordings on that. Okay, I'm going to end that there and now get into parts of the body that are ruled by the sign of Capricorn. So generally, Capricorn is very much associated with the knees. Okay. People who have a lot of Capricorn energy in their natal chart, if it's afflicted in their chart, sometimes they can deal with knee problems, or sometimes if somebody doesn't have anything in Capricorn in their natal chart, they can tend to end up with things like Osgood-Slaughters, things that don't support the knees. Basically, all of our knees could be feeling a little more sensitive as the moon transits through the sign of Capricorn. But this also, Capricorn also has a big influence on the entire structure of our body. It's a really good idea to kind of just give yourself some flexibility. You do some yoga, something like that. But also, that a lot of people don't know about, the sign of Capricorn also has a very big influence on the gallbladder. And I know so many people who are having gallbladder issues. Pluto going through Capricorn has been a little rough on those things, and so much more. But regardless, be mindful again of what you're putting in your body. And when we had a full moon in the sign of Capricorn about 6 months ago, I had 2 clients who had to have their gallbladder removed very abruptly, very quickly, when the moon transited through the sign of Capricorn. The full moon went through the sign of Capricorn. So just be mindful of that. Be careful with what we're putting through into our bodies. Now, Capricorn has a lot to do with the minerals in our body. That has to do with the Saturnian energy coming through. Now, personally, what I like to do to support my body with minerals is I take something called pure black shilajit. Okay, I'm not going to go into the details on that, but all I know, I shouldn't say all I know. I know a lot more about it, but all I will tell you is that if you're looking for minerals, you might want to look into pure black shilajit. Now, also, Molin, something a little more easily accessible. Molin can be really good for taking in minerals. Kind of depends on how you're going to be taking it in, but Molin is really just kind of a good herb for this sign of Capricorn and can be supportive for minerals. And let's see here. There's also burdock root. Burdock root is so good and grounding. Burdock root you can make a tea with, and it is such a very detoxifying. Can also be really good for the gallbladder. It can be very detoxifying, but also super grounding. So those would be my top 3 recommendations for this new moon in Capricorn. And then also the gemstones. The gemstone that is really dedicated to the sign of Capricorn is garnet, which I've got a piece of garnet right here. Garnet is gorgeous, like a super dark burgundy stone. And it can be grounding, but it can also be a little amplifying. Depends on if you've got a very clear, red, shiny, like almost like you can see through piece of garnet, then that's going to be more of an amplifying energy. But actually, all the stones I'm about to show you can be really good for encouraging ambition and will. Okay, now this garnet may not be the best stone for everybody to be wearing on their body. Okay, it's a very, very powerful stone, and sometimes can create like that Capricornian structure. Sometimes it can almost bring a little bit of a restriction into your life. So garnet, it depends on your natal chart. If you want to know more about that, please schedule an astrology reading. What I always do is I take the stones and I put them on top of my journal rather than wear them on my body, because not all stones are good for everybody. Some stones, like sapphire, is just not good for everybody to be wearing on their body. There's certain stones that, especially emerald, sapphire, those ones are very, very powerful. But again, what I always do when I know they're not good for my vessel is I write in my journal the night before the full moon what it is I'm trying to manifest, and I put the stones on top of my journal. So that way my words are connecting with those celestial influences, making a more powerful connection there. Okay, so, and I will leave a full extensive list of stones that really resonate well with this sign of Capricorn in the description of this video. Just look below. The next one I want to mention here is malachite. Malachite is one of my favorite stones, a super pretty green stone, very strongly recommended by Edgar Cayce, a very, very protective stone. And again, this can also help to encourage ambition and will to, like, I will, that type of thing. But again, it's also very protective. And this stone, malachite, in my opinion, is a stone that can be good for everybody. I can't imagine, maybe you might be somebody that green might not work so well with, maybe not wearing a malachite pendant every single day, that sort of thing. Maybe if you're intuitive enough, you can feel into it, but overall malachite is like a reliable kind of stone. Okay, and then the next one I was going to mention, this right here, is tiger's eye, which tiger's eye is another one that's very protective. And this tiger's eye also really resonates with a Capricorn for the ambition, but the sign of Leo for the I will. It can also be very grounding to help to slow things down. Can also be really good for transformation too. Okay, I always like to take 3 stones. I like to work with the Trinity. I like to work with, take 3 stones, put them on top of my journal. Now, those stones are all very grounding and very connected to the earth and stability and, again, ambition. But if I want to amplify things, if I want to make that connection to Jupiter even bigger, I use something like clear crystal quartz. Anything that's like clear and shiny will be good for amplifying your prayers. Okay, so let's see here. Did I cover everything I wanted to? I think I did. I think I will leave it there. Again, if you would like to schedule an astrology reading, please visit my website, erinwageastrology.com. Now, if you're on a phone or a device, you're going to see 3 little bars at the top of my website. That's a menu bar. If you click there, it'll say book online. And then it's super easy from that point. I get messages from people saying, I don't see where to schedule on your website. If you're on a computer, it'll just say book online. But if you're on, again, like a phone or a tablet of sorts, then you'll see that menu bar. If you click there, it's very self-explanatory from that point on. Okay, you guys, I do hope to hear from some of you. And until next time, namaste to all of you.